Good evening, everyone. I think we'll go ahead and start the webinar. Once again, very warm welcome to Emertxe's course demo and the placement journey webinar. So this webinar we do every month. Myself and my colleague Mubeen, he'll be joining shortly. Primarily meeting two objectives. One is to give you guys a bird's eye view or a high level view of what is happening in the industry. Especially when you're targeting a semiconductor or a product companies, what are the factors that are influencing the job market. And I know as we speak, right, it is not a very positive environment to be in a job market. We hear about the job losses rather these days, companies going for layoffs, shutting down operations, or their product lines are not taking off, etc., due to many reasons. There is definitely a factor of AI. There's a factor of the geopolitics, how countries are doing the trade, right? And also the war situation, which is changing the world economy very quickly. So all these factors, how it affects, we'll take a deeper look. And what we felt was one of the observations across all the monthly these webinars. You can go ahead and check in our YouTube channel. We have been doing this webinar for almost like 3 years now. When we look back, right, one of the key thing that comes across all the webinars is the awareness, right? As a fresh engineer or a working professionals who want to get into this domain, one of the key thing that you guys require is the real perspectives and also clarity. Often I tell in a lighter note that students or the engineers' head is filled with a lot of noodles. So our objective is to clear out the noodles, give you guys the right set of clarity so that you can make the best decision for your career as we move forward. So that is the first objective. And second objective is to talk about our course, our Emertxe's course, how the course is structured and how the course gets delivered and how the students can apply for placements. And so typically there will be a lot of questions about placement that come up in every webinar. So what we'll do, we'll make it interactive. I will pause at certain intervals and take some questions, and we can keep it more of a Q&A. My request is not to use the audio, because sometimes that audio gets distorted. What I suggest is you can post all your questions in the chat window. I can read your name and the question, then I can answer, and then we'll proceed. That method has been working quite well in our webinars, right? So I will cover one of the sections, job market and things like that, and subsequently the second section will be covered by my colleague Mubeen, who will be joining shortly. And then the third section on placements, again, I will take over. And we'll keep the Q&A going throughout the session. Myself, I'll take some questions, and Mubeen also will take some questions. So that way, by the end of the webinar, we really want to give you the right set of exposure and clarity. As I mentioned, the idea is to make you take the right set of career decisions. Okay. So with that note, let me switch off the camera for some time. We'll keep the session slide focused, and then subsequently we'll maybe I'll pause it at some point, and then we'll have some Q&A. Okay, so let me go and turn off the camera for some time, and let me share my screen. So are you able to see my screen? Can you just confirm once in the chat? I'll maximize my deck, presentation deck. Please respond. Is my screen visible to all of you? Yeah. Thank you, Rishikesh. Thank you, Ashrat, Swati. Okay, thank you, Jishnu, Shivam, Manoj. Again, Vishnu. Yeah, thanks, guys. Omkar, Satvik. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And anytime you have any questions, you don't need to wait. Keep typing in the chat window. I will pick it up at the logical intervals, right? And then we'll do it, right? So let me start the. All right, so let us get going. Warm welcome once again. To start with, let me introduce Emertxe to all of you. Emertxe, we are a net tech company. We have been in this education domain for more than 20 years now. At a high level, as an organization, we try to resolve two challenges. One is what we call employability. As you all know, India has become a country of engineers. We produce 1.5 million engineers every year. and in which very few percentage of them are having the employable skills. So we train fresh engineers and then we make them employable by giving hands-on practical training programs in three areas: embedded systems, IoT, and full stack web development. And the other segment that we focus on is the upskilling segment, where working professionals and the corporate organizations they take our courses which are more advanced in nature. They will be people who are working already, who wanted to transition into the core or the embedded domain, or companies who wanted to upskill their employees to take up more complex and challenging assignments. So we deliver programs as well. So that's our focus over the past 20 plus years. And any program that we do, we ensure that the education is driven in a hands-on manner. You can see the picture there, the hand, making a, something like a clay toy or something like that. And we believe when you can learn only when you make your hands dirty. Okay, so that's a hands-on approach that we take in any program, any domain that we do. Okay. So coming to our leadership team, Mr. Mas is the founder and the managing director of the organization. He's the one who started Emertxe 20 plus years back. He mainly looks into the business side of the responsibilities. And my colleague Mubeen is a technology head. He's a versatile technologist who mainly look into the technical aspects of all the training programs, reviewing the training contents, content quality, and train the trainer, building the trainer capabilities, reviewing the assessment systems, etc. And that's what he does. Anyways, when he logs in, I will ask him also to give him a brief introduction of him. And Mubeen has 20 plus years of overall experience. So that's what Mubeen does. And myself, Jayakumar, I am part of the leadership team. I have about 24 years of work experience, which can be divided into two parts. The first part, I was part of the corporate organization, three companies I worked with, Ishoni Networks, and HP and Huawei, where I was part of teams working on embedded systems, in various domains like networking and the printing, and also the later on the telecommunication networks. So I led teams. In my last assignment in Huawei, I was a senior manager, a group manager for their embedded Linux group, where my team was involving in customizing Linux for various Huawei's telecommunication platforms. So that was my last corporate assignment, 12 and a half years back. After that, I joined Emertxe in the year 2014. So from then, it's been a very interesting journey. I played different roles. At this juncture, I am leading the delivery responsibilities, which includes the student success team, who mainly works in the counseling and giving you the soft skill trainings. And the main chunk is in form of the technical team, a team of mentors, managers who deliver the various modules, subjects, evaluate them. And then the placements team, who primarily works on interfacing with the clients, bringing in opportunity for the students, and also coaching the students in the last minute. For example, before somebody goes to the drive, ensuring that they are properly oriented and given the right set of preparation materials, etc. So that's what my team does. So I'm responsible for the end-to-end delivery from the student admissions to placements. Okay. So apart from three of us, we have a team. We are about 150 people company, based out of Bangalore. If you're familiar with Bangalore, our office is in MG Road. And one of the challenge in MG Road is the traffic. You can already see the noises. There is already an ambulance which is getting stuck in the traffic. Maybe few minutes, let it be settling down. So our office is adjacent to the metro station, if you are familiar with Bangalore and MG Road. Okay. So that's about our team and our leadership. So now the key strength that we have built it over the years is a strong and deep relationship with placement companies. So these placement companies hire our students. They can be bucketized based on various categories. Just to make it simple, we can say companies which we call it as an MNCs, working on product development from their Bangalore or Hyderabad or Chennai, or sometimes even Ahmedabad or Pune. We do get companies what we called as a MNC offshore delivery centers, or these days the new name given called as a GCC, Global Capability Centers. So they hire our students, companies like Qualcomm, Microchip, Shellshow Communications, right? In fact, with both Microchip and Chelshio, the interviews are happening right now. LG has been recruiting our students regularly. So these are more of a product companies. And we also have India-based large-scale services companies who are working in the area of embedded systems or product development. For example, Sasken is another example. You can see in the right hand downside. So you can see the Sasken there. So Sasken hires our students regularly, and also there is a lot of mid-sized companies and startups who are working on innovative products. For example, Avin Systems, which is an automotive company, a mid-sized company, and they're currently, again, their drive is also currently going on. And Allegiant is where last week we delivered a corporate training program, right? And then some of you would have heard Boat. I guess it's very popular among your age group, where you buy the Boat electronics. They've been one of our recruiters. And HL Mando is another Korea-based automotive company who is, again, a drive is happening currently as we speak, right? So these are the companies who hire our students under various size of the companies, big companies, mid-sized companies, startups, and we see a lot of innovative startups coming in this area, working in various areas like, for example, electric vehicles, medical embedded systems, and we also see a lot of companies working in the defense, because as you might be hearing, right, the Indian government is pushing very hard, or quite aggressively, for the indigenous design and development of defense equipments. And defense equipment, generally they are embedded systems end of the day, right? So that's why a lot of defense and aerospace companies also hire our students. Okay. As of now, I guess a company called Adya Aerospace is hiring our students. Anyways, you can check our website or social media. I will probably walk you through quickly to understand what the current placement activities are happening in our organization. Okay, so that's about the what do you call the introduction about our company and what we do and what are the placement clients that we have built over the years. Now coming to the first section of the webinar, which is nothing but what is happening in the job market. Okay, so definitely, as I mentioned, these days not very positive news coming out of the job market. You hear about layoffs, we hear about companies shutting down operations, etc. But having said that, there are a lot of positive things happening with respect to our domain. I'll talk about it shortly, and why it is happening also we'll cover, so that you get a right perspective. Now, often what we do, we take a very general news and we try to understand that everywhere the same news, right? That may not be true. Whatever we are going to share is a first-hand experience, what is happening in the ground level, because we talk to the companies on a daily basis, including me and my team. Everyday drives happen, and we have a clearer view about where these organizations are heading. Okay, so let us start with the key trends. We see there are 4 trends at this juncture influencing the job market. The first one is AI, artificial intelligence. You all know it is the latest buzzword. Wherever we go, we hear that. And what we hear is that the AI, a lot of LLMs have been introduced, and then they also give a interfaces for coding, right? I heard about Claude Code, etc. There are tons of LLMs have come, so which is actually making the process gets automated.
ನಾನು ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ಹೋಗ, ಇದು ಮಾಡಬೇಡ. ಅದನ್ನ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಇವಾಗ ಅಷ್ಟು ಅರ್ಜೆಂಟ್ ಏನೈತೆ?
Hello, somebody is cross talking. Can you please mute yourself? Yeah, right. So we spoke about AI. So another issue with AI is because of the automation. AI is replacing a lot of low-end jobs, right? Which was earlier done by engineers, which is getting replaced. So that is where, as a fresher or entry-level engineer, you see a major challenge, where a lot of jobs where the companies used to come into a campus recruitment, typically the India-based service companies, right, who used to come and hire in thousands, right? So they are getting replaced. So that's one of the reasons why, when we look into the campus recruitment scenario in India across all the colleges, I'm not telling about a particular college. Even if you go to top-notch institutions like IITs, right, we see that this has impacted the entry-level job market, right? So that's one trend which is influencing. The second trend is geopolitics. We all know how the countries are getting into war, and then how the trade agreements is influencing how the businesses are done across the countries. And any one of these things happen, definitely it will influence the job market. Most of the times it is influenced negatively, right? So we see that happening. Under the positive side, what we see, as I mentioned in the beginning, especially for our industry, which is semiconductor and the product industry, we see the phenomena of GCC taking into mainstream, which is called as a global capability centers, where companies are expected to do a end-to-end high-level R&D work from India. So, whatever they were earlier working on, services companies where they used to work on one piece of the software or a product, now the organizations are expected to build the entire product out of India. So that way, more high-end work is getting implemented from GCCs. And definitely you would have heard about this point also, the India semiconductor story, where government is actually taking a lot of initiatives to bring in manufacturing, mainly the semiconductor manufacturing to India, by establishing various manufacturing plants. And also, as I said, the domestic demand, especially in domains like electric vehicles and the defense, is driving a lot of job market, right? So these manufacturing jobs tend to also drive more design level jobs, which are expected to be done by engineers like you. Okay. So these are all the four broad level trends that we see in the job market. And specifically, I would like to explain this with the analogy of shirt making. Okay. For example, whenever you wanted to make a shirt, I'm sure the shirt making will involve this listed activities, or some, it could be more. I'm just telling for an analogy, where in order to make a shirt, it starts with, let us say, cutting a fabric into a required size, then stitching it and doing the finishing work and pressing it, and then packaging it, and then shipping it to make it ready for the customer, right? And after the product is shipped to the customer, when you buy, if there is a damage or any exchange, etc., we need to ensure that it is also done properly to give a end-to-end customer experience, right? So this is what an analogy with the shirt making. uh, but as I said, because of the mainly the first two factors, sorry, the third and fourth factor, the GCCs and the India semiconductor story, the companies are expected to create an entire shirt out of India. Okay, so it's no longer about, when you say a services organization, they were operating in any one or any of these areas, right? For example, they can do either this or this, right? For example, one and two. You can get looking into the analogy part, right? But now what they're expected to do, they're expected to do the entire shirt making out from their own. So this way there is a shift happening between building one piece of a component to basically making an entire shirt. Okay, this is an analogy, as I said, for us to easily relate what is coming in the subsequent slides. Okay, so moving on, how it maps with the job market. As I said, when it comes to the entry level hiring in the Indian campuses, right? Earlier, they were doing what you called as a mass recruitment used to happen. Where companies will come, they will conduct the campus drive, and hire in hundreds or sometimes in thousands, and they used to hire irrespective of the branches, right? Say a student who studied electronics, and who studied mechanical, and who studied civil, they will hire, and relatively the entry barrier was less because there are a lot of openings. And once they hire, they will do what you call the factory model of mass skilling, giving you a training of 2 months or 3 months, and then they make you ready. And then the main advantage this services model was enjoying is nothing but the cost, right? Instead of, for example, hiring one engineer in the US, you can hire, let's say, 5 or 10 engineers in India. So it was more of a cost arbitrage, or the cost advantage that they were doing in the services model. But as I was telling, right, which is changing now. I'm pretty sure as the days are passing by, the large scale services companies hiring model, it is not going to return back anytime soon. In fact, all the leaders, for example, if you heard about the Tata chairman, right, he was in the media recently. He was telling, right, the companies are not going to hire as many people as they were wanted, right? This is one definitely a challenging thing. Having said that, companies are moving to a very specific hiring, because, as I said, it is not about hiring them at mass and giving them some generic responsibilities. Now it is a very specific skill, and in order to do that specific job, you need to have that specific skill, and then the entry barrier is higher, because you need to create the entire shirt or entire the product, right? So where companies wanted to move from a cost based model to an innovation based model where they want to build the entire product on their own, right? So that way the value proposition has significantly changed. So coming to the previous example, how we correlated the shirt making with the entire shirt, right? Now we need to understand it more like a doing any one of the activities or doing the complete activity. Okay, so that way the same arrow, if you want to put it here, right, how the job market has changed, it is shifting from left to right. Okay, so for example, the first two, the AI and geopolitics, is playing a major role here in order to bring down the mass scale hiring. For example, whatever a manual effort used to happen, now AI is automating that, right? And then geopolitics affecting some of the work getting done from India, or it is moving more to a lower cost than India. Right? These type of things are affecting. On the positive side, as I said, the specific hiring, where we are, if you look at the webinars focus is, right, what type of the jobs that we are targeting, right, it is here, it is not here. Kindly note, right, that's what I told in the beginning. We don't need to think all the problems are same problems. They can be similar, but they may not be same. Okay? So that's an area where the global capability center and the India semiconductor story is producing a good number of high-end jobs. So it is not that there are no jobs, there are jobs, but the job nature has changed. So rather than hiring 100 engineers with a skill level of 2, now maybe it has become 30 jobs with a skill level of 5, right? So it is becomes very important as a fresh engineers to understand the left hand side is resulting in job loss, whereas the right hand side is resulting in job growth. Okay. So this is the broader conclusion of all the trends that we've seen in the previous slide. Okay. Now some data just to back up whatever I said. It's always shows some numbers. So this is some of the market research data about how the GCCs or the global capability centers are growing in India. And specifically, if you look at the Indian electronics or the semiconductor market, it's also growing. And you can see specifically the aerospace area, defense area, where there's a lot of investments coming in. And in the automotive segment, I guess Indian companies are bringing in a lot of innovative products, both in the two-wheeler segment and also in the four-wheeler segment, right? You can see a simple example being number of electric vehicles in the road, right? Look at it as a two-wheeler or four-wheeler, it is only increasing. Okay. Added to that, existing gasoline vehicles are also getting into more intelligence-based, more infotainment-based, what they call it as a SDV, or a software-defined vehicle, right? So all these phenomenon are driving more jobs in the job market. Okay. So this differentiation probably you should understand that, as I said, right, in general, the generic IT jobs are reducing, whereas the specific jobs which you are talking about, the semiconductor, the product development activities, it is actually going in a positive manner only because of the various factors. I would say rather two factors: the GCC phenomena and the Indian semiconductor phenomena is driving more jobs. Okay. So this is just a data for you to refer. So now we discussed some good number of points. We are kind of moving towards the closure of the first section. We'll maybe I think I have one or two more slides to show, then we can have a Q&A, okay, before we start the second section, right? So what does it mean? Earlier the the tier 2 tier 3 engineering college saw bulk hiring from large scale IT services companies, for example TCS, right? Okay, they used to come and conduct aptitude tests, and then they used to give hundreds of people or thousands of people they used to hire. Okay. Now those roles more on a focused on the outsource or the repetitive tasks, right? Now getting automated or shrinking due to AI and geopolitics, whatever we said, right? That we discussed about 4 factors: AI, geopolitics, GCC, and India semicon. The AI and geopolitical is basically reducing the number of jobs that are already existing in the market. Okay. So then the second thing is the campus interview. Okay. Whatever used to happen in the colleges is evolving, rather than going for a large volume, right? Now the specific skill based selection is happening, and as I said, the GCCs and the India semicon companies are taking the center stage. So which means, right, at every level, the expectation from the engineers have gone high, right? From, let us say, a chief technology officer or a principal engineer or a lead engineer, right? every level, because of the complexity of the work has increased, the expectations also have increased. So in this regard, that also boils down to the entry level engineer, where the expectations also have gone up. Okay. So they're not only delivering products, right? They have services, they're delivering the products. So important part is to adapt to this change, right? We can just still go and worry, right? Sometimes blame, saying that, look, when I'm passing out, these things are happening, and many of the factors whatever we discussed, right? It is nothing in under our control, and we can just go and complain and blame, and definitely that's not going to move anything. So rather adapt to this change, go and take up the skill building journey. Any domain that you go today, companies are expecting you to showcase a depth of skills, right? So that is the whole idea here. Okay. So that's what it means. It is not only for the fresh engineers, even somebody who are working, who wanted to basically transition into this domain, the same thing holds good, because our course is also taken by working professionals who are directly having experience in the embedded domain, or in the are related domains. Or sometimes we also see students working in a totally different domain, but they want to transition into embedded. For them also this holds good. Okay. So that is what overall market means. And finally, the real thing about how it is happening in Emertxe. Okay. And this is the slide we show in every monthly course demo webinar. This graph shows the number of companies that are coming to Emertxe every month. And you can see the blue one is nothing but the 2025 last year, and the red ones are 2026. And you can see in January we had 55 companies, and February we had 58 companies, and then we have March we had 68 companies, and then April 62 companies, and then May we had 57 companies, and we are in June. We still have one more week to go, where we then this 56 is as of today. We expect the companies to come in the next week also. So on an average, we about 50 to 60 companies come on a monthly basis and hire our students. Okay. So these companies, again, they can be of different variety of companies. They can be a MNC company, Indian services company, mid-sized company, startups, right? They come in different variety depending on the number of openings that they have. Okay. And these companies, when they come here, as I mentioned in the previous slide, what we've been discussing, it is actually they come here for a specific skill. Okay, they are not coming here for generic skill. They come here for the embedded stack or the embedded skill set that you are bringing onto the table, where companies are expecting you to be productive from day one. They don't have much time or muscle to train engineers on a longer period of time. They expect people to be ramping up very quickly and become productive. Okay. So that is where the skill based hiring, or the very specific expectations are there from our hiring companies. And that is how it translates into the real data which is there. And you can also see this graph we show in every monthly meeting. The placement data is very much transparent and Emertxe, whether it's our course demo webinar, or you can look at our website or our social media. You can very well see their data is up to date, and whatever is happening, it is always kept updated in the in all our open platforms. Okay. So that's basically about the first session. And we can see some success stories. Let me just probably I'll walk you through so our social media and website. That would be better, so that you get a view. Just a minute, let me um, open our Instagram channel. Open screen is visible. So this is our Instagram channel, social media, where we keep the data updated, be it a bulk hiring, or in terms of the premium salary hiring, right? Different types of hiring happens here. You can just put it. And also we share on a weekly basis, which and all companies have come. For example, last week, which and all companies hired, right? You can see here. You can see Adya, I was telling, right? Adya Aerospace came. Then we also have Volvo, right? Polaris, Avin system, which I mentioned initially. So sometimes you see, right, we might not mention the CTC in the one, because that is because our clients, our placement companies, give us instructions not to publish the data, and whenever they're okay, we'll go and publish, right? We share it. So that's the whole idea here. They're the type of companies which are hiring our students, right? So in the same data is basically available in various platforms. Let me also share our website in case if you are seeing that. Show our website. So the same data, the calendar or which company came, it is also mentioned here. You can see here. You can just go and check, right? So you can see a lot of information is mentioned here. So this is about the placement data, and then students basically who achieved their records, right? Placement update under various categories. Okay, so that's what I would like to call it as a part one of our webinar. So now let us take some questions and let us do some interactions here. But before I could see some questions here, I'll come to that. But before I start, I'd like to check with you. Are you guys able to connect with whatever the information I shared, the factors influencing the job market? And some of them are acting positively, some of them are not so acting positively. Are you able to relate whatever I shared so far? Can you please respond in the chat? Are you able to understand and relate? Rushikesh is telling yes. I would like to hear some more from you. Then we'll come to some questions. There goes Chandini. Then Rajesh. Shivam. Okay. Okay, Shivam. There are two Shivams here. Then Sujit, Arshad, Vishnu, Gajanan. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Right. So let us take some questions here. In case we have more questions, feel free to type. Let us start doing some Q&As now. As I said, I want to make it two ways, right? Swati is telling, so please tell us in short, what is the final procedure to get certificate in this, right? So certification, will come to that, Swati. In the third section, we'll give more details, but let me brief you. In Emertxe, we give two type of certificates. So one is the certificate provided by Emertxe once you complete the necessary modules. And then the second type of certificate is with, from the Skill India, where we are affiliated with Electronic Skill Sector Council of India. Our course, the embedded software engineer, is aligned with one of their qualification packs. So you'll get when you once you're done with the course, you can apply for that and then obtain the certification as well. That's the Government of India Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship certified. So that is another opportunity as well. Okay. So then moving on, hope that's fine, Swati, about the certification. We'll share more details in the subsequent sections, right? Shiv is asking, I am passed out of 2020. Can I be eligible for placement section? Yes, Shiv, very much yes, because as I mentioned, companies when they come to recruit our students, right? They come here for a very specific skill. So more than the year pass out or the percentage, the how well they're able to demonstrate the skill. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So whether the students are able to demonstrate the skill set is what matters. So they do come. Definitely as a 2020 students, you do get placement opportunities. Yes. Then there's a question from Manoj. I'm 2023 passed out candidate, EC background. Right now I'm working in IT, so is it possible to switch to embedded domain? Definitely yes, Manoj. As I told in the beginning, even though it appears that this course is taken by students who want to get into the first job, that is not only the target audience, This course is also taken by working professionals, either from an IT or sometimes they work in certain business roles. For example, we see students are professional working in the marketing and sales domains, or some of them work in the technical support. Some of them even assistant professors. So they are academia, but they want to transition to the core industry. Yes, very well possible. And there is also a chance that your previous work experience can get considered. Again, that depends on the company. Let us say, for example, you have 2 years of IT experience, and when you achieve that transition, there is a chance that when you go through the interview, companies might value your previous experience, and they can also offer you a different or higher compensation. We are seeing that happening with many companies in emerging in the past. So that advantage also you have. Again, that is not a standard thing. It varies from company to company, but yeah, that advantage is also there, right? So as I said, to summarize, it's not only for a fresher who is looking for the first job, it is very well for the working professionals also who wanted to achieve transition. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Manoj. Hope it clarifies your question. Raviraj is asking, electrical engineering student graduating in 2027. I'm eligible for embedded systems course, and I can get placement support after completing my degree. Wow, that's nice question, Raviraj. First of all, I really appreciate you because you are going to only pass out in the year 2027, but still you participating in this webinar. We really welcome that. In fact, we have been running another set of webinars in the theme of start early and stay ahead, because whatever I mentioned, the company's expectations have gone up, right? So it is better that always, if you can do this course along with your academia, that will be a really good example. So yes, definitely you can take up this course, and you can very well achieve the placements also. Okay, but only difference here is, Raviraj, since you will be passing out in the year in 2027 June, probably 1 year down the line, you can take up the course anytime, and then ensure that you complete your degree and get a provisional degree certificate. Then you can start applying for placements. Kindly note, our placement works slightly different from a typical campus recruitment, because campus recruitment, what happens, companies do come in the final year, right, or pre-final year. They give you an offer, then you wait for 1 year, and then you join. It doesn't work like that, right? Here, whenever companies come here, they recruit, they expect you to join immediately. All the companies, whenever they hire, they expect you to join immediately, right? So that's the reason why they expect you to be a graduate, right? So what I request is, you can very well take it up, complete your degree, get your PDC, in the parallel you build your skill, and by the time you complete your degree, you will be far ahead than your friends, right? And I wanted to just share some success story that we have seen with 2026 pass outs. So in Bangalore, right, in Karnataka state, right, we have VTU, Vishweshwara Technological University, where they actually introduced a 4-month internship program, okay, saying that they should do as a part of their final year. And what when the students inquired, we structured our course also as an internship course, come internship they did. And they just completed their degree exams, I think last week, right, last week or 1 or 2 weeks before, right? So where their 2026 students, since they already spent around 5 to 6 months with us, and then they applied for placements, I'm seeing around 5 or 6 of them getting placed this week, right? I'm talking about 2026 students. And now think about this, right? Some of the 2026 who are already there in the webinar today, they're going to decide now. They decide, then they join, then basically you skill yourself and get placement, right? It will be quite a long journey. So in summary, Ravi, always welcome. Starting early is what really we want to percolate, and really glad that you are here. So I really want you to get inspired from 2026 students, right? And we hope, right, you also achieve the similar results in the coming year, right? Good question, Ravi. Okay. Judas is asking, sir, tell me about the placement preparation, like what type of aptitude question we need to study to attend placement in Emertxe. So, Judas, anyways, we have a placement section where we'll talk about it. But since you asked this question, I'll briefly tell. So, largely, the companies uh, would expect you to demonstrate the skills that you are going to study in the course, right? As I said, they're not coming here for a general skill hiring; they're coming in for a very specific skill hiring. That's anyways the next section. Mubeen will walk you through about the skill set that you are going to gain, right? Definitely into demonstrate that. That is point number one. Second thing, when it comes to specific drives, they will also check your aptitude and also some of your basic electronics knowledge, for which we will be supporting you with some materials. In fact, every drive, we based on our past experience, what are the potential preparation materials that also get shared by our team on a drive to drive basis. Yes, so that's update. Hope it's clear, Judas. Jivesh is asking how much maximum LPA can we expect if I choose embedded as a fresher. It depends, Jivesh. You can see all the data available in the social media, which I already shown, right? It purely depends on you. The more skilled you are, the more confident you are able to demonstrate the skill set to the companies, the higher the salary package would be. It is as simple as that. Okay. What is the course price and structure? Santosh will be able to talk about the course structure in the subsequent section. Mubeen should be there in any time soon. Once he joins it, he can take you through the course structure, and he will explain that module by module how the courses are going. How the course is going to what do you call progress. Coming to the fees for the course, I request you guys can get in touch with our counseling team. Towards the end of the session, I will share their contact details. You can get in touch with them, and they'll be able to explain all the fee related details. Right? Okay. Then there's a question from Shivam Chauhan. Sir, I'm a hardware analysis engineer, so I want to know our current experience is helpful for the embedded job. I think I answered this question, Shivam, to the previous IT experience question asked. It depends on the company, right? If they can consider you, that's great. Okay, but we cannot, as I said, we cannot able to commit because it depends on the company. So when can we join the course, and is the course only offline? Somebody by name AV. AV, the course is delivered in both online and offline. Both the modes are there. And just wait for some time. Once Mubeen starts, you will know how that is structured and delivered. Again, Rushikesh Mahajan, again free structure. Talk to our students. To our team of counselors. So then Vivek Acharya is asking, sir, are the placement interviews conducted offline and online? Both. Again, that depends on the companies, right? We have all the combined. In fact, companies also do something called as a hybrid, right? For example, first round they do it in online and they'll ask you to come in physical for the later rounds, or vice versa. Where they take the initial test and the interview offline, then final round they do it online, right? Again, it's completely depends on the company, but both the modes are available. And then there is a question from Puneet. Good evening, sir. I am completed MTech in VLSI and embedded systems in 2022. After that, I started preparing UPSC since 3 years. So my question is that I'm getting barrier during placement because some companies recruit recent batches. So how to? I think I already clarified to another question, Puneet. 2020, somebody asked, right? So absolutely no problem. As I repeatedly been telling, companies come here for a skill, not for a year pass out or a academic record. So, and we have seen many students like you who appeared for UPSC, or sometimes people try for GATE, or they've been going through certain personal challenges because of which they need to take a break. So, all those things doesn't matter at all. And in a way, if at all there will be some questions about this, it will be there in your later management or HR interview. And I always tell our students, just be honest, right? Just tell what you've done in the past 3 years, then you are in, right? So ensure that you build a skill set. So definitely, I don't see your year of pass out getting as a barrier here. So Rajesh is asking, can you please explain brief how the placement process is going and what student eligible, and the course is taking 6 months of time when we are eligible for placements. Rajesh, give me some time. As I said, no, this is a 3-part webinar. First, we covered only the job market trends, right? Now we'll get into the course, how the course is structured, etc. Then we'll again come back to the placements when students are eligible, when you can start applying. We'll discuss that. Okay. Do companies have minimum CGPA required by the companies? Uh, uh, some of them yes, or some of them no. Okay. Some of them I'll also show you guys our Google group, where the companies, some of them will specify they require a specific era password or percentage or CGPA. Some of them will say no, any era password or any percentage will do. Yeah, I would say roughly, I don't have the latest data with me. My memory goes, it's like a 60-40, right? Around 60% of the companies do mention about a specific era password and percentage. Around 40% of them tell they don't care. You can be from any OIOP, any percentage or CGP. Okay, Ananya. Then we have Sejal from Jabalpur. I completed graduation in ECE 2025. Interested in embedded systems. My English isn't very good. Is placement guaranteed after certification? Okay, interesting question. Two questions you are asking, Sejal. One is about your communication skills, and another is about the guarantee. Right? Let me answer them separately. Coming to English, right? Many a times I told in the older webinars also, or in my whenever my interaction with students, right? Communication skill is never a problem for any of you. Okay, that's my strong belief, and I go with it. The problem is confidence, right? All of us know how to speak English, but what is preventing us from speaking English is confidence. So that's why we tell you work on the skill building journey. You build, let us say, 15 projects in your resume, and work on other activities like lead code and and the what do you call the hacker rank problems, etc. Then automatically confidence will build. And once the confidence is built and you explain in a simple English, you will be able to get selected. And we've seen tons of students like you, Sejal, coming here struggling with English due to lack of self confidence, lack of self esteem, etc. But just by skill building, they are able to come out of that. So that's to answer your question about English. Second thing is placement guarantee. Okay, this is again an interesting question, right? Students ask these questions many a times, right? So do you guarantee a job? Right? I said in the world where layoffs are happening, how anybody can guarantee anybody's job, right? That's on a lighter note. But having said that, what we tell is, right, you focus on the skill, focus on your skill building, and all we can do is give you guys the opportunities, right? Whatever I shown you in terms of the type of companies and when they hire, etc., we can put you with the companies. Then how well you perform, how well you are able to demonstrate the skill set to them and getting selected, it purely depends on you. So we are here to train you with our best of our abilities and support you with placements by getting the opportunities, proving your skill to the companies, right? That is your responsibility. I think that's a fair expectation, right? Because let's say I go and tell a company, hey, Sejal, she's a good student of mine, can you recruit, right? I cannot recommend anybody. In fact, they don't like if I do that, right? They maintain a very strict professional boundary. They may be very nice person talking to me, but they don't accept all those things. Whenever you go, whether it's a Sejal or ABC student, right, they need to demonstrate the skill. If you are able to do that, is a placement is guaranteed? Yes, right? If you follow what we tell, 15 project in your resume, and good amount of problem in lead code and github, sorry, hacker rank, will that guarantee a job? Yes. Okay, hope that's clear. Yes, agent. uh, okay. Gajanan is asking, sir, if we get placed in one company, will I still be able to apply for another company? Answer is no. There are two ways to answer this, Gajanan. One is basically before you apply for any company, you can choose. Right? You can very well apply or not to apply a company depending on your interest. But once you get selected, you have to join the company. Okay. So because the reason is when recruiting companies come, we give them assurance, like we are assuring certain things to you people, right, in terms of opportunity, skilling, etc. Similarly, we assure to the companies that whenever they select students, all the students from Emertxe will join. Let's say one company coming and selecting 5 people, right? 5 students from Emertxe, right? We say all 5 will join. That's a guarantee we give them, right? By allowing multiple offers, what happens, right? We always want to go for a higher salary, right? Or a company which is more bigger brand, etc. So that will create a problem for our clients. So you can choose before you apply, but once you apply, get selected, you have to join. In fact, once we get a confirmation with the company, we'll block you for the company. In fact, we'll stop you attending further companies. Hope that's clear. Just give me a minute. Let me see whether Mubeen has come.
Uh, Hi, Jay, I'm here.
Mubeen, you join? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So still some Q&A is there. I guess you can take over. I'm seeing a lot of questions are there. For
Okay.
example, I'm seeing a lot of questions from Kumar, right? From Prakash, uh, Om, and then Purnachandar, etc. So we'll pause this, guys. I would, because it's already 7:50. I would let Mubeen to take over the second section, which is about the course and the technical details and the course flow. Then again, you'll also answer technical questions. Then we'll come back and continue the placement related questions. Right, Mubeen, you want to take over?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just share my screen. Good evening, everyone, and once again, welcome to the course demo webinar. I hope you enjoyed the session with Jayakumar and got an idea about what Emertxe is doing and what we are offering in the course embedded systems as well as IoT briefly. So let me start with my introduction. I am Mubeen and I work as a technology head at Emertxe. I graduated in the year of 2003. It's been almost 23 years since I completed my graduation in computer science engineering. And over the last 23 years, I have been fortunate enough to get vast experience. Initially, starting my career in Emertxe itself as a software engineer. I worked in Emertxe for closer to 2 years, developing software for different application portfolios, including device drivers, EDA tools, etc. Post that, I moved into a company called Novel. So back then, Novel was developing software based on open source Linux kernel, SUSE Linux. So I worked in SUSE Novel for a short tenure. Then I moved to HP. In HP, almost worked closer to 4.5 years in multiple teams, mostly as a software lead and a software senior software engineer. I was also part of the Linux print scan fax device driver team, and I was fortunate also to meet Linux kernel when I was basically posted in US for a short tenure. So I, over and all, I have a vast experience as a software engineer and a software lead in developing cross-platform applications, open source based applications, as well as Linux device drivers and embedded systems applications. So after completing my tenure in HP, I joined back to Emertxe as a core team member, and it's been almost closer to 14 years. I'm working with Emertxe as a technology head, primarily looking into the technical contents as well as the technical qualification of the mentors who will be delivering the training in our various training programs. So that's a brief about me. So today I'll be walking you through the course structure and pedagogy for the embedded systems and IoT course, which we offer. So basically, for people who are keen to get into core industry, embedded systems as well as IoT is something which you can look into, right? Yes, there are several other fields like VLSI design and so on, but embedded systems and IoT are quite becoming significantly basically important, not just because they are used all across the world in all areas, but in terms of basically opportunities, we see that there is huge growth in embedded systems and IoT. So what is typically required for anybody to become an expert in embedded systems and IoT, right? So yes, we don't have to learn a lot. It's not like completing an engineering degree. Yes, within a duration of let's say 6 to 8 months, somebody can become proficient in embedded systems, right? So typically, if you put good effort and spend closer to let's say 6 months dedicated, you can become proficient in embedded systems. So what do we teach in embedded systems course? So in our embedded system course, we teach 7 to 8 modules depending upon the mode of training which you opt for. So we start with Linux systems or Linux basics, wherein we introduce. Yeah, somebody is talking. I think I have to request everybody to be on mute so that it does not disturb others. Let me check. Okay, I have to mute everybody. Yep. Mute all. Yeah, let me switch back to my presentation. All right, so here we start with Linux systems. So importantly, why Linux? Linux is quite popular in embedded systems as well as in the developer ecosystem. So we teach the basics of Linux initially. then we move on to one of the most important modules, which is C programming. So C programming is essentially the most suitable program for embedded system software development. So we teach C from scratch, including basics like data types, loops, functions, right? Moving on to advanced topics like pointers, then strings, etc. So we teach C from scratch. Even if you are not familiar with C programming, we do cover up basically C extensively. And after C, we basically complete C++. C++, as you know, is focused on object-oriented programming. So in object-oriented programming, it is concepts like what is class, what is objects, what is polymorphism, what is inheritance, etc. So we build on top of C, whatever is delta in basically between C and C++, that's what we're focusing on, especially object-oriented programming. Following C++, we teach data structures. In data structures, importantly, right? So it's not just about learning programming, it's about how you can apply these programming languages and the problem solving techniques efficiently. If you want to learn efficient application development using algorithms and efficient data structures, then data structure module is important. So whatever we teach is not just being taught theoretically, it's all practical. So if you look at our basically course, what is that time frame? I would say 70% of the things you're doing practical. Maybe 30-40% is what you're learning conceptual, right? So we have lab as well as class. I'll talk about it. So everything you'll be learning practically. So after learning all these foundationals, we'll move to the core subjects. So when you say core, we start with microcontroller programming. Right? So in microcontroller basically module, we learn about the architecture. We learn basically how to program and interface with the peripherals, starting with simple peripherals like LED, and we learn basically how to interface with input devices like switches, and move on to basically more peripherals like ADC, then timers, interrupts, then moving on to basically concepts like protocols, like especially in embedded space. Microcontroller basically is kind of the heart of embedded systems, right? So without which you cannot say you're an embedded systems engineer. So you focus a lot on giving you the like a bigger picture of explaining the architecture, the components which are part of the embedded systems, then programming peripherals, and moving to basically advanced concepts like protocols. And moreover, you'll be building at least 2 projects as part of every basically core module, including microcontroller module, right? So I'll share some of the projects shortly as well. Then after that, you learn about Linux internals, wherein you learn about how basically Linux architecture is basically designed from a subsystem point of view. Like you have inside the kernel, there are several basic subsystems like process management, memory management, multi-threading, and networking, etc. So we'll teach the concepts of operating system in a generic way, but using Linux as a practical learning platform. So he'll learn how to understand the internals of Linux and how we can write application programs by using these primitives, including system calls and process threads and networking, etc. Following that, we teach something called as embedded Linux on ARM, wherein you learn about, let's say, given a hardware board, right? Let's say you have a board like Raspberry Pi or BeagleBone, right? Most of you might have basically at least heard about it, if not used it in your basically academics. So any board you take, and if you want to basically let's say a development board, or let's say custom board. So one of the challenge we'll face is that yes, the hardware is customized. How can you put a basically a software that works on a customized hardware? So for that, we have to know basically how Linux can be built from scratch, how you can customize Linux, how you can compile it, and basically flash it onto the real hardware like Raspberry Pi or BeagleBone. So that's kind of a little advanced concepts. We'll be teaching that as well in our course. And Qt and QML, those who opted for the offline course, this is a module which is also included as part of the ECP or Embedded Systems course. So here we will teach how we can develop, say, UI-based embedded applications. Nowadays, if we see, right, everywhere you can see embedded systems with a screen. It could be having a HMI interface, human machine interface, using a touch screen, or it could be basically using some control interfaces, etc. For example, you sit in a car, you see an infotainment system, right? And in that infotainment system, we are going to basically implement, you're going to build applications for navigations, for camera, right? And for climate control and so on. So all these applications has to run on an embedded platform, and to develop an embedded GUI based application, Qt and QML, basically Qt QML framework is commonly used. So in summary, we are going to teach you the programming foundations first, operating system basics, then we'll move on to data structures, microcontroller programming, then operating system concepts using Linux internals, and moving on to basically the hardware, basically customizing or hardware basically implementation, hardware bring up part using embedded Linux, as well as GUI programming using Qt and QML. This is what we teach in the ECP or embedded system course. Then if somebody is interested in IoT course, we offer a program called as ECIP, Emertxe Certified IoT Professional. So between embedded systems and IoT course, there is a good amount of overlap. So first you can see that Linux systems and C programming kind of is overlapping. C++ is also overlapping. What you have added additionally is Python. So Python is a very versatile programming language. It can be used for development, it can be used for testing, it can be used for integration, etc. So we will teach Python here because in ECIP course, we're going to focus on building an end-to-end application. It is not simply a deep dive into the core subjects. We keep a business application in mind, which is IoT based, Internet of Things based, wherein let's say you want to collect a lot of information from sensors which are attached to a microcontroller. You can basically very well do that by using a microcontroller like Arduino or ESP32, and you can send this information to a cloud platform. So now there are several methods you can use to send information to a cloud platform. You can directly send it to the cloud if it has internet access. If it does not have internet access, or if it's not feasible for an Arduino or ESP32 or a simple microcontroller based device, which is residing, let's say, in a factory, which may not have internet access, then you may have to have a gateway kind of a device which can get all the information from hundreds of devices which are available in the factory. So in the ECIP course, we will teach you by giving the bigger picture of how an IoT basically based end-to-end solution looks like, and we build up from scratch, teaching from programming, then moving on to microcontroller programming, then communication protocols, then using all the sensor data which is available in the nodes, communicating with the gateway device, which is a more powerful device. So inside the gateway, we have to run some applications and servers which can build using Python programming language as well. And this IoT gateway will communicate to a cloud platform which is hosted on basically well-known cloud basically service providers. It could be AWS, it could be Microsoft Azure, or it could be like open source platforms like Things Speak, or basically Arduino Cloud, etc. Right? So ECIP is also something which is nowadays becoming more popular because the nature of basically embedded application is that they're always connected, right? So if you want to build connected embedded application, this is something which basically you can opt for. So which course to choose, it completely depends upon your interest level, right? So both courses are having its own basically scope of subjects, and there is good demand in industry for both the courses. So any questions so far, or should I continue? Let me just quickly check. All right. Okay, not much. I'll continue. So what about STM32? Yes, we are planning to basically use STM32 also. So by the way, right, the controller which you use does not matter as such, right? There are several controllers available. Like you have PIC based controller, you have ESP32 based controllers, Arduino controllers, ARM M3, M4 series, ARM M7 series is there, right? These are ARM-based controllers. So STM32 is from ST Microelectronics, which is a company who uses ARM, right, specs. ARM has a lot of variants, ARM M02, for example, M3, M4, then there is A series. So when you talk about Raspberry Pi, it's a class basically processor, and so on, right? So yes, many a time people very much don't understand, okay, what is STM32, what is Cortex, etc. So ARM is a company which basically creates the specs and the IP for the ARM series of microcontrollers, and companies like ST Microelectronics, NXP, Qualcomm, etc. They use these chips and adapt and create their own basically SoCs, right? So similarly, STM32 is basically a series of controllers. In that you have, for example, ARM Cortex M series, and we may use one of the M series basically controllers also for the microcontroller module. All right. By the way, changing the controller does not make much of a difference. Okay. Then talking about our pedagogy, right? Let me switch to the slideshow. Yeah. So how do we basically teach, right? So how is our learning structured? And basically, if you look at any academic course which you are going through or have gone through in the past, right? So typically you will have a lecture session and labs, right? So here, right, we do have class sessions and lab sessions. So in the class sessions, unlike the traditional class sessions, we just simply don't have basically a separate session for teaching the concepts, right? Our classes are kind of integrated with practicals. So class sessions will cover core concept delivery, and we'll also basically have sessions wherein we'll have working practical examples and demonstrations, along with basically guided exercises, which will be extended based upon the concepts which you learn. So if you look at our classrooms and lab, there is no separate classroom and there is no separate lab, right, in offline classes, right? So similarly, it happens in online also. So during the class itself, we have to basically write the programs, you have to run the programs, you have to get the output, right? Yes, bulk of the basically classroom session will be reserved for teaching new concepts, but it is going to be taught practically, and you have to connect with your laptop so that you can basically watch if you're watching online, as well as basically write those programs which is taught in the class. So apart from class sessions, we have lab sessions. In the lab, typically we make you do two things. One is work on the assignments as well as build projects, right? So in the lab sessions, assignments are typically small targeted task or assignments wherein you'll write, let's say 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 lines of code, right? Or 150 lines of code max, right, in the assignment. So assignments will help you to reinforce the conceptual knowledge, and we also focus on problem solving, right? So problem solving, when you say problem solving, so if you go to any interview, right, so what do they ask? Is it something like they ask you to write the syntax of a for loop, or let's say how you can define a function? No. Yes, they may ask some conceptual questions, like for example in C they may ask you, okay, what are storage classes, right? Can static uh, basically variable be used outside the file which is defined, right? They may ask some conceptual questions, but mostly nowadays the trend has been that before the interview itself there is a test, and these tests typically are like coding exercises. And during the interview also, the interviewers, apart from checking your conceptual knowledge and embedded systems, they also will make sure that you are good in problem solving. So in the labs, we will give you basically many programs and new problems, which will help you to basically get which will help you to gain confidence in basically solving these type of problems within a limited time. So lab is completely practicals, which involves assignments, problem solving, as well as projects. So talking about projects, right? So to projects, why do you have to do projects, right? Is it really required? If you look at anybody's resume now, right? When somebody passes out of college, let's say you have 50 students from your batch passing out in electronics engineering, you compare your resume, right, with your friend's resume. Most of the folks' resume will be same. Typically, they will have qualification information followed by what is that, your skills, and mostly projects, right? And in your college you'll have some, basically, let's say 1 or 2 projects which you do as part of your basically academics, right? But for an interviewer or a company or a HR to basically differentiate and decide who is good, right, they typically don't look at your marks, right? Marks, gone are those days wherein people used to shortlist based on marks. So you should have an impressive resume with good number of basically projects apart from skills. So we focus a lot on completing projects, right? So we say that minimum for every module you have to complete 2 projects, right? So the way we teach project is something like this. Typically how it's done in industry, right? We take a project, right, and make you basically build the project using something called as SDLC process. So what is SDLC? So in SDLC, basically there are 4 phases like requirements analysis, design, implementation, and testing, right? So we use that in our problem solving approach also, which is a scaled down version of a project. So we teach projects by using SDLC approach, and we also make you do the project by using SDLC approach, right? And these projects simulate real world basically implementation as well as real world projects, right? Finally, apart from class sessions, lab sessions, projects, etc., there is a test and assessment basically module framework also, wherein frequently, if at least let's say twice a week or thrice a week, you'll have test schedule. It could be objective test, it could be subjective test, programming test, etc. So why we conduct test? So test is kind of a mechanism for you as well as us to know where you stand, right? Yes, many a time we would have basically studied for engineering semester exams or internals, wherein we try to basically get a lot of good marks, right? In our case, yes, we want you to basically get good marks, but by learning the right way, right? By learning the right way. So we don't want anybody to get 90 or 100 marks, right? That's not our goal. If somebody scores a 60 or 70 in our test, we consider it to be an A+ grade, right? Because here we are focusing on learning by understanding, not by hearting and preparing for an exam, right? We are not going to give you like books for you to study. Whatever you learn in the class, understand it, and whatever you apply in the lab, that will come in the test. So kind of it's easy for you to basically get a score if you, let's say, completely basically focus on the class and lab, right? So scoring is easy here if you're focused in the class and lab sessions, right? And importantly, when you apply for a job, it becomes very easy for you to crack the interview. So please understand this, right? So this will help you to basically get the confidence in clearing the interviews also. Apart from having technical skills, it's also important, as somebody mentioned in the chat, that okay, I'm not good in communication, right? Will I be able to get a job, right? Yes, getting a job requires technical skills as well as soft skills to some extent. For example, you know many things technically, you learned programming language, you learned microcontrollers, and you did many projects, let's say. But in the interview, if you are not able to explain these things to the interviewer in a convincing way, then chances are that that interview is not impressed, right? So soft skills will help you to basically explain things whatever you learned during the interview, and going forward when you join a company, it becomes very easy to work with the team together in having a good rapport with the team members, as well as communicating regarding your project progress, as well as focusing, as well as basically basically having a good basically what you impact on the team members, right? So soft skills will also help you to basically grow in the company as well. So we do conduct few sessions related to soft skills, which help you to basically improve your verbal communication, right, and setting a professional basically tone as well. You can also give presentations for topics which are related to your projects, or could be non-technical also, which will help you to basically speak confidently, right? So apart from soft skills, we have a dedicated student success team who will work uh, in parallel with the technical team to check your course performance and to support you in basically any scenarios wherein you are finding difficulties, or if you need any counseling, etc., then our student success team will be there to help you. So they will give you personalized guidance also. In terms of placements, right? So yes, we are teaching a lot of concepts, and our goal is that it's not just about getting a job. Yes, after getting a job, whether you'll be able to work is what we're focusing on. But important thing is that we also wanted to check basically how good you are before you start applying for a job, right? So we have dedicated placement prep sessions conducted. Typically, we conduct mock interviews, which will simulate technical and HR rounds. We also conduct interview prep sessions, which could be company based or module based. And there are basically other sessions like Disha workshop, which will help you to basically build a resume and learn how, for example, you can attend HR interviews and the likes, right? So there is a dedicated placement team who works closely with clients. They talk to the clients and bring in basically more job opportunity for our students. And placement team as well as student success team will closely work with you, start right from basically floating the applications to scheduling the test and interviews, as well as post interviews, sharing the status, and once you get a job also, right, we'll help you to basically uh, help with the onboarding to some extent as well, right? So what is our Emertxe advantage? I would say we have a comprehensive curriculum, right? So our curriculum is in line with what industry needs, as well as our learning pedagogy involves hands-on learning, right? Whatever we teach is not just conceptual, it's hands-on learning. We our training is also designed in such a way that you become placement ready. So how do you become placement ready? It is by learning things practically, by doing assignments, by completing projects, right? And by taking up tests, you will become placement ready, along with basically placement prep activities. And as I mentioned, we have a dedicated basically student support team who will continuously work with you till you get placed, in supporting you basically to learn the best way. And if you face any challenges, they will guide you how you can basically overcome those challenges. So that was a brief about Emertxe's basically embedded systems and IoT course, what we teach, how we teach, and what you can expect from us overall. Let me check if there are any questions. Yeah. Online course, it will be helpful because I'm working professional. Yeah, Shiva. Shiv, we do provide online course. Jayakumar, I think, mentioned about it, I guess. So we have online course as well as offline course. So in the online course, there are two options. One is an online course which happens in the morning time, 9:30 to 1:30 typically. There is an evening batch also, where the class starts from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. also. So working professionals can opt for that. Lab starts at 6 p.m. Okay. So let me quickly show you how our learning management system looks like. So we have a LMS portal where students who have enrolled for the course will get access to LMS. Let me quickly share that. Okay, so Om is asking 20 and 28-year students can join the course. Yes, 20 and 28 students, for example, they are, let's say, in third year, they can very well join the course. Let's say in the evening mode, right? You can join the course. Okay, are you going to provide kit for project? Shiv, kits, if you opt for online mode, we provide like simulator tools, which you can use it on your system locally. Install that simulator, hardware simulator. We use a hardware simulator called as PixSimLab, which you can run on your basically laptop and run the microcontroller code which you have written. Optionally, you can buy a hardware kit also, which you can basically connect and you can flash the program and see the output as well as give the input. So online mode of delivery, yes, we can recommend a hardware kit for you, but it's not mandatory by the hardware. We will use simulator for completing microcontroller module. Okay. Ritika is asking, what do you mean by PT? PT is placement eligibility test, actually. So before you start applying for placements, we will assess you in terms of where you stand in terms of performance, right? So we just wanted to basically do a litmus test in terms of your readiness for the placements. So once you qualify for that, you can start applying for the placements. And there will be multiple opportunities will be given to take up the placement eligibility test. And we typically schedule it after completing 2 to 3 modules of the course. Right. So we'll share. So course fee, you can check with our course counselors. We'll share the details. They will be guiding you regarding the course fees. Bharat is asking, sir, the classes will be there all 7 days a week? No, class will be mostly 5 days a week plus Saturday. Not all Saturdays are basically working. Usually you will have two or three Saturdays in a month which are scheduled, right? Some other Saturdays you may have test also. Okay. Right. So Ritika, don't worry about the passing percentage. It's not about the percentage. You will get like opportunity to prepare well, and most of the candidates, right, will clear the PET. Not to worry, right? All right. So let me move on. Let me share my browser. Okay. Hope you can see my browser. Okay. So this is a sample course for Advanced C, which will be accessible to you when you enroll for the course. So we have a learning management system wherein students as well as faculty or teachers mentors will log in, and all the resources related to the course will be uploaded here. You can access it from your desktop or from your laptop as well as from your mobile, right? So what is available in this is like a structured course curriculum wherein each chapter will have its own slides, right? So slides will be given to you. For example, let me open this slide, Introduction to C. So you'll get access to like all the slides, right? Detailed explanation of the topics will be there, right? And you can write programs either locally on your laptop also, as well as you can practice the program inside the ID itself, right? So programs, for example, You can operate inside the browser. We provide a tool called as a virtual programming lab. It's like an IDE integrated in the browser itself, right? And you can write the programs in the IDE itself. So students get access to this, right? So I can open this program. I can type in any program, for example, right? And I can execute it, right? So just wanted to show you this. So if you are familiar with like competitive programming platforms like HackerRank, LeetCode, etc., right? So you might have heard about it. So you can write your program, you can execute the program, you can see whether output is correct or not automatically, right? So here also we are having a similar mechanism which is going to basically give you the input-output test cases. You can write the program, you can run the program, and automatically it will basically give the input as well as check the output. And this will help you to become familiarized with solving programs in LeetCode as well as HackerRank. It's auto-graded, by the way. You don't have to wait for the mentor to tell whether the program is right or not. So you get access to the slides. All the programs which you'll be practicing can execute in the browser itself, right? Then you also get access to quizzes, right? There are a lot of quizzes available. So quizzes, you can use it for like practicing. Some of the quizzes you can practice. Some of them will be given during the lab sessions or during weekends. And there'll be something called as a module test, right? Yeah. So apart from this, as I mentioned, you get access to all the course resources also. And for online students, class recordings are also accessible. Okay, offline students will not get this. Online students will get class recordings, wherein day-wise whatever sessions has been taken, you can basically click on it. You can watch the recorded videos. This will be helpful for you to basically revise the concept. In case once in a while you miss some of the sessions, you can always watch it, right? So you can see project explanations are there, right? Project explanation is also there. Lab explanation is also there, right? Lab assignments, project explanation, everything is there in the LMS. All right. So let me quickly check if I can stop sharing for now. So any questions so far? Yeah, Ananya is asking only for offline batch we have QTQML. If you want to basically opt for QTQML, yes, maybe later on if you're interested, you can take up the QTQML as a separate course if you want. Yeah. So Jayakumar, do you want to continue here? Okay. So which application is used for C programming? Shivam is asking. So C program, that's no application actually. You can use something called as an ID. So we use VS Code. So students typically use VS Code, Visual Studio Code for writing the program, and along with compilers like GCC to run the compile the application. So VS Code is typically used for writing the application.
So shall I proceed, Mubeen?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
One more thing, just wanted to basically discuss, which I missed out. Is okay. Just a moment.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure whether I can play the video here. Just check.
This conference.
So I'm trying to share a recording of the microcontroller module, which is delivered online. So many of the learners ask, okay, how can I learn microcontroller programming if I opted for the online course? As I told earlier, so those who opt for the online course, we provide the simulator software which you can install locally on your laptop, and any microcontroller program which you write, you can compile it using the compiler, and you can flash it onto the simulator, and the simulator will basically run the binary, so that you can basically test it using the peripherals which are available on the simulator. Let me see if I can play the video.
Will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. In today's class, let's see how we can write an embedded program to toggle the LEDs connected to the board with. So now to write the embedded program, we are going to use the tool MPLAB XID. So you can see here. So this is the MPLAB XID. If you open this, you will see this as a starting page. So some projects are mentioned here, data sheet is available here. Even if you worked on some recent project, that list is available. And even you will get the microchip logins. If you have a login ID password, you do the login, and you can do the purchase on a microchip website, right? Okay, so now let me go back to the question. So question was, we wanted to toggle the LEDs connected to the port D. So now here in this MPLAB ID, you can see these are the different tools available. So we can use these tools as per the requirement. For example, this is to create a new file. It's to create a new project. It is to open the project. This option is to do the build. You can see different many options are there. So as per the need, what we will do, we will take an approach. Whatever we need it, we will start using those things. Now here in this MPLAB XID, I already created a project and kept it ready. So project name is what? LEDs. So in this project, I created. So when this project is created, this MPLAB XID create some organized sections. You can see here. So now to write this program, to write the embedded code, we need a main.c. So generally .c files goes here in this source file sections. Header files goes here, make file will go here, linker script will go to this section. Or if you need any libraries, if you are planning to add any libraries, then those goes into this section. And finally, this is the place for your executable file. So let me go to the main.c. So you can double click and open the main.c in the editor window. So now you can see I'm defining two micros. So instead of using port D directly, so what I did, since if you see the hardware, on the hardware, so you are having total 16 LEDs. So this is the PiximLab simulator board. So it's having total 16 LEDs. So currently we are going to toggle LEDs connected to the port D. These are the these are the 8 LEDs out of 16. So these 8 LED array we are going to toggle. Toggling means on off we are going to do. So now since I'm having 8 LEDs, I'm defining the micro LED array as a port D, and to give the direction to the port pins, there is a register TRISD. I'm defining that with name LED array data direction register. Now you can see here comes my name. So here I'm calling init config function. So this function is to do the initialization. So what we are doing, so in main itself, we are not doing initialization. It doesn't look good. So there is a separate dedicated function to do the initialization. It is init config. So control will go here and here in this init config. So initially what we are doing, if we are using LED, we need to set the pin direction as output. So I'm writing my LED array data direction register as a 0. It will set port D pin as the output, and to start with, initially, I will keep all LEDs connected to the port D as the off. So to turn off the LED, I need to load 0. So I'm writing here 0. So LEDs remain off, fine. And here comes our while one. So if you see any embedded system, once you turn on the embedded system, it runs forever, right? It goes into infinite loop. So here comes my infinite loop while one. So inside this while one, we are going to write our application. So what is our application? We wanted to toggle the LED. So here is my instruction to toggle the LED. So I'm writing LED array equal to tilt of LED array. So what it will do? It will toggle the values of this LED array. If it is 0, it will make it 1. If it is 1, it will make it 0. So now you can see. So this is what 0 is 0 0. So after execution of this instruction, this LED array value becomes 0xFF. So entire port becomes 0xFF. All port bits become 1. So all LED turn on. LEDs are going to be turned on. And here what I'm doing. So before going to this instruction once again, I'm putting the delay. So if this delay is not there, what happens? We will not be able to see the LED toggling. So it will happen at very fast rate. Due to the persistence of region, we will not be able to capture it. So I added the delay. Then after this delay, what happened? Next time, since we are in the while one, control will go back here. So again, we are changing the LED array value from what? FF to 0. So now what happened? LED become off. Then again delay. So like this way, we are making LEDs on, LEDs off. Fine. Now. So we have to build the code. We have to compile the code. How we can do? So here in this mplab xid, I install x8 compiler. So that's why the setter file is also included related to the compiler. So now how you can do the build? So you can see here is one option to do the build. So let me click on that. It will start doing build. My project is getting a build. Now you can see build is going on. So it will take some time. Please wait. Now see build is successful. That means your text file is created, and even it will give you the memory summary of your project. So now my hex file is created and it is loaded also. Now what we can do? So we can load that hex file where in this board. So we can run that hex file here in this microcontroller. So this is the heart of this board. So basically here we are using PIC16F877A microcontroller. So we are going to load the hex file here. How? You can go to the file, you can select the load hex. You have to navigate wherever your project is stored. So let me navigate. So now, just for the sake of simplicity, I kept the project on the desktop. So let me select that. Now again, you have to go to the distribute directory. So basically, you have to use this path. After build successful, it is prompting the path where X file is available. I'm just referring that. Then you have to go to the default production. Here is the X file. Let me open. Okay, expected output is what? These LEDs should toggle, but it's not happening. Why? Because these DIP switch related settings are not done. So to turn on the LEDs connected to the port D, this DIP switch, second one, you have to pull this switch up. So let me do that. So it's down. You have to pull it up. So let me select. Now you can see the change here. So what this program is doing, it's running in this microcontroller and it is toggling the LEDs. And even we are able to see the toggling very clearly, right? Okay, so this is our program, our embedded code to toggle the LEDs connected to the port D. Fine.
So that was a quick demo of how the microcontroller program to blink an LED was written using an MPLAB X IDE. And following that, the mentor explained how we can use PiximLab IDE to load the hex file and run it to demonstrate the LED blinking program. So be it online or offline, you will be writing a program using a IDE, compiling it and loading it into a hardware device. So here we showed how to basically load it into a simulator, which will basically simulate the real hardware, right? And there are several peripherals, and you can also build complex applications using this, run complex applications using the simulator as well. All right. Yeah, Jay, I think you can take over.
Sure, Mubeen. Am I audible, all of you? Students, am I audible? Just confirm one so that we can start the third part of the webinar, which is nothing but placements. I know some amount of questions we could already clarify, but still some portion is left about the process and and then showing you guys the Google group, etc. Am I audible? Just confirm. Yeah, thank you, Prakash and Shivam. So let me take you to the third part of the webinar. As you all know, we completed two portions. The first one, the section which I took, was about the introduction and job market trends and how certain factors like AI and geopolitics are negatively influencing the job market. Having said that, there are factors like GCC and the India semiconductor story, right, which is where we belong to, the aspirants of semiconductor and the devices industry aspirants like you, where you can have a career. And we saw high level trends and what the placement data looks for Emertxe in terms of month on month placement data. And also we quickly gone through the success stories of students directly by looking into the company website, our company website, and Instagram channel. Right, that's where I left. I did answer a good amount of questions. The second section, which Mubeen has taken, it was more of a technical aspects, how the modules are structured, how you basically take a step-by-step approach towards upskilling yourself in the domain of embedded systems, and how you get yourself equipped with the necessary practical skills which is expected by these companies, right? So that's the second portion. Now the third portion, I will again start from the placements, right? How the placement works, process, Google groups, walkthrough, etc. And with this section, I expect that whatever some of the questions that earlier raised by some of you will get answered. In case if it is not answered, still some are lingering, no worries. We can still take up questions from you guys and ensure that all your questions are answered. Okay. So let me just put my camera off for some time until the until the audio to maintain the audio quality. Then during the Q&A we can turn it back on. Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay. So let me go off the video for a minute. Yeah, just a few minutes. So the third section, which we want to resume, is again about placements. So feel free to type your questions. No need to wait. We'll discuss. So when you talk about placements, this is how the process works. So once you join the course, all of you will be added into a Google group. I'll just give a short demo of that, where all the placement notification will be placed, will be shared. Where the company details and when are the key steps, like for example shortlisting, selection, etc. So all the information will be shared via the Google group. So what the expectation is, you guys come for the course, and by the end of the C programming module, our technical team will be putting you through a placement eligibility test. You need to clear that, mainly to qualify yourself and also ensure that you are able to meet the minimal expectations that placement companies are expecting. And then you can start applying for placements. You can check the Google group. As I said, access will be given from day one, but you can start applying once you clear the placement eligibility test. And then the application will reach our team, placements team. They will do an internal, I would say, filtering, just to ensure that the right set of students have applied. Sometimes students who are not eligible would have applied. We'll just clean it up and then subsequently share with the companies. And then kindly note the entire shortlisting decision is taken by the placement company, the final decision who will be attending the process, and then they will notify us. And then subsequently our placements team will closely work with you to coordinate on the process by creating individual drive specific WhatsApp groups, and then sharing you the preparation materials, giving you orientation about the company and the roles and responsibilities. And in case there are any specific expectation from the company, that also we will clarify you, right? And then subsequently, with all the skill building that you've done with the throughout the course, plus the last minute information, the preparation data that we share with you, you can start going through the written test and the interviews. Every step our team will keep you posted until you get the offer letter and go and join the organization. And as I speak, when I took a break, when Mubeen was speaking, right, we got good number of selection from SASCAN, which I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, right? It's one of the leading product engineering service companies in India. They selected good number of students, and then we saw a lot of congratulatory notes, getting exchange in our internal student WhatsApp group. Okay, so those things will happen, and then we will be there until you go on board into your company, and then you report for day one at your workplace. Then subsequently we hand over the further steps to the company, and then we sign off our placement commitment. Okay, so this is how the process works. And let me quickly show you the Google group. So here is the Google group. I guess this is familiar for all of you. This you will be added, and you can see there on a daily basis the applications getting floated. And today we had Maramon Technologies, Tosal, Ramdisk. You can see there are 3 companies have got floated today. And yesterday it was, I guess, a lot of traffic in the group. You can see some companies come, Hummingbird, AC Win, and then some people, and then we also float some of the alumni if they're interested. We just on a gesture basis we float the jobs also, and somebody got selected, we place that. And then yesterday you saw, right, the written test schedule for Zoomi Solutions Advanced to the next level, right? And then the new company is SASCAN, as I said, right? SASCAN continue to hire on a regular basis. What I shared a few minutes back were the results from the last batch, and they still have more openings. You can see it got floated, again, right? And there was some time back, Ultraviolet. Some of you will know it's an upcoming, automotive company. And then Mavenir is another telecommunication platform company, and Microchip, which I mentioned in the initial, right, one of the popular semiconductor companies, right? So like this data will be completely shared with you. You can see here, right? And then here, when you open a particular application, right, the entire data will be provided to you. So let me open the latest one itself. For example, this Maramon Technologies, right? You can see the entire information is given to you in terms of the company website, an overview about the company, right? And what are the modules that you should complete it, right? Mubeen was talking about how the embedded and the IoT core students progress in their skill building journey. They're expecting C and microcontroller modules for the embedded students. For the IoT students, you should have completed the C and Arduino modules. You can apply. And in terms of academic requirement, you can see they are actually giving the 75% in engineering, and 24-25 passouts can apply. 26, as I said, just got opened up. As I said, already some of them got placed recently, but they're still yet to open up fully because just the examinations are getting over. And you can see whatever the salary details also very, very transparent, and we also tell the clients to share it upfront. Okay, for 1 year you will be in the bracket of some range, and then post training what will be the revised salary. Okay? If there is any bond, that also will mention, and what will be the mode, direct interview in Bangalore, and the work location also Bangalore. You can see here, right? And then when you should apply, and there is a link here. If you just click, right, it will open up a simple Google form. I think they closed it. Yes, it was 17th, right? Okay, at 10 a.m. was that thing, right? So just closed it, or rather, okay, I think they opened up a new one here, maybe in the bottom. Yeah, this is a new one. You can see here, this is still on. So whatever is, right, they will ask for the data. You can just go through and apply. Okay, so like that, every company, you can see the various companies are there. Every data will be shared with you, so that you are updated. You can see every day, other day, you can see date wise. So this is what the consolidated data, which is shared in the beginning of my presentation, how many companies have came on a monthly basis. And that also I mentioned, right, very well, available in the social media also, because the placement data is very much transparent in Emertxe. Okay, so this is about the placements. So let me just go through the process point what we discussed, right? And then the Google group and application process, which I just showed you guys, right? And then some of the FAQs, so let me walk through. I guess some of you have answered. If anything missing, we'll go through that, right? So till how long I'll get placement opportunities through Emertxe? We have a 2-year commitment. From the time you complete the course, you can get support for 2 years, and your placements will begin after you complete the C module, clear your placement eligibility test. You can start applying, and then whether some of them get placed before the course, that's well and good, or if not, once you complete the course, you'll get opportunities for 2 years. Okay. Can it choose between 2 job offers? I think I already clarified this question. Okay. Should I apply to all companies? Not necessarily. You can check all the data and then check the suitability and then apply. Okay. What type of companies are hiring? I guess this also we discussed in terms of the MNCs or GCCs, right? India-based engineering service companies, mid-sized companies, startups. So these are the categories, and by looking into the Google group, hope you got an idea about how frequently they're coming, etc. Okay. I think this part also came up. Some of you asked a question about having a year gap, either due to the UPSC exam or MTech gate preparation, or due to certain personal reasons. Will it affect my placements? The answer is no. In the beginning, as we mentioned, from the high level expectations, right? The companies do expect you to demonstrate the skill set. As long as you do that, there is no issue with respect to year gap, year of pass out, etc. Okay. And this is a typical question we get from working professionals who take up our course. In your current organization, if there is a notice period, because I mentioned when companies select, they expect you to join immediately. But having said that, if you are working professionals, you will have certain commitment with your current company, especially the notice period. If you wanted to submit your resignation, how to handle? Very simple. You can complete your notice period and get yourself relieved in a proper way, professional manner, getting your experience certificate, etc. Then you can join the company, right? Placement company. And we also recommend when you are attending the interviews, especially in the last rounds, etc. You can also bring it to the notice of the HR team or the technical manager about your current situation, so that they are also very transparent about your joining date, right? Apart from that, if you're a fresher or if you're available, you're expected to join immediately. And as I mentioned, Emertxe is a training partner with the National Skill Development Corporation under the Skill India initiative of Government of India, where we are affiliated at a National Skill Qualification Framework (NSQ) of level 5. Students who go through the course, they get 2 types of certificates. One is Emertxe certificates, which will give it from our side. Along with that, you also have an opportunity to get the certificate from the Government of India under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. And in order to get the certificate, you need to go through a test and a viva after your course getting over. Our team will be floating application in the same Google group. You can apply for the certification. And this process, we made it as an online process, and typically we schedule it as on a Saturday, so that even if you are a working professional or a student who got placed, right, you can comfortably attend the NSDC certification process. And then once you clear the certification process, the certificate will be sent to us, and then we'll be taking a hard copy and sharing it to you, because NSDC recommends to send the certificates only in the hard copy format, which will be couriering it to you or sending it to you, or sometimes students also do come to our center and collect the certificate, right? That's on the logistics part. So let me just show you guys the how a typical certificate will look like. Let me showcase that. I guess this is slightly a older version of the certificate, doesn't matter, but this pretty much looks the newer version also, with all the logos, and then let me share it. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. The energy certificate, you can see that it comes from the Ministry of Skill Development. You can see all the logos there: Skill India, NSDC, and ESSCI, and we'll be adding our institution data here in this line, and you can see that there's an example of student Bharat. And then this is what I'm mentioning, embedded software engineer is a job role, because the Skill India focus on job role rather than a generic degree or a certification. And they also have this QP qualification pack. And then, as I mentioned, we are at level 5. In fact, we are one of the very few institutions or training partners of NSDC and ESSEA who are delivering level 5 certification. And then this is like a QR enabled for the authentication, etc. Right? So typically, a student asks me, what is the benefit of this certificate? And this is more taking a perspective of a long-term career. For the placements, more than the certificate, as I keep repeating multiple times, you guys demonstrating the skill set. And these days we call it as a digital career portfolio, which is a combination of your LinkedIn profile, where you showcase what you're doing on a regular basis, and then a GitHub profile where you have all the source code checked in, and a resume with 15 projects, right? So that's the expectation. As long as you do that, that is more powerful than certification. Any certification, whether it's from Emertxe or Skill India, companies do expect you to demonstrate the skill sets, right? So that's a bit, but yeah, certifications are important. We have enough and more things in place. Okay, I have 2 more slides, then we'll take up the pending questions, if any. Okay. And these are all the course dates for the month of June. We are kickstarting an offline batch day after tomorrow, June 25th, in our center. And then June 20th, we are kickstarting an online regular program, or a day batch, what we call, which is on June 30th. On July 2nd, we are starting the online evening course, which is more preferred by working professionals. But yeah, even students take for the online class also. And there were queries about fees, the payment mode, etc. As I mentioned, request you guys to get in touch with our counseling team, course counseling team. That's a common email ID and their phone number. You can call them, email them, or WhatsApp them. This will be attended by one of our course counselors. Or if you're already in touch with your course counselor, already assigned to you, you're already conversing with them, feel free to reach out to them and ask further questions. And we'll also be sharing you the recorded version of this video. This video is getting recorded, and we'll put it in our YouTube channel, and then we'll share. And not only this month, even the past month webinars are all available in our YouTube channel. Okay, you can take a look, and in case you missed any section, you can revisit that as well. Okay, so that's what the thing is. And this is our coordinates. As I mentioned, we are a Bangalore based organization located in MG Road, near to the metro station. And these are all our social media handles, or the QR code. We are active in both LinkedIn and Instagram. And you can also find a lot of videos, the long form videos, in our YouTube channel. You can share, right, or subscribe, like, share, and subscribe to get the latest updates about Emertxe and what is happening in general in the industry. Okay, so that's the content part what I wanted to cover, and Mubeen has completed his section as well. Now what we'll do, I'll unshare my screen and let us take some Q&A. Let me also turn on the camera. See, yeah. So yeah, there's a question from Prakash. When I get a placements within 6 to 8 months or 8 to 12 months, Prakash, it purely depends on you. You can start applying after the C module is over. How well you are able to demonstrate, that is purely depends on you. Okay, duration is purely depends on you. Yeah. Ashrath is asking, so what if a student fails the PET test? Do they get another chance? Yes, we do give additional chances to clear the PET. Yeah, I think Ritika also asking the same question. What about the firmware engineer and embedded software engineer? Is both the roles are same? Om Makraj is asking. So this can be again again the job titles sometimes are misleading. Whether you are a firmware engineer or an embedded software engineer, please understand both of them come under the software umbrella only. Right? When Mubeen was demonstrating, right? So his perspective, when he shared the module details, he clearly mentioned that we are teaching the software stack, right? Or the software, the entire skill set that is required for you to build a embedded system from scratch, right? So here depending on which layer you're operating. Embedded systems is a layer starting from a low level, right? Middleware, operating systems, application, right? There are a lot of levels are there. So depending on that, the designations may vary. For example, if you're working at a bootloader level or a device driver level, right? People call them as a firmware engineer, right? Or some companies will say, no, we don't want to differentiate, right? Any layer you're working, we'll call you as an embedded software engineer, right? My request, Om, in general, I tell to students or any aspirant in embedded, don't bother too much about the designation. See what the role is, right? As long as it is a software stack, and then any layer that you're working, definitely there are opportunities coming in all the layers, right? So that's how I would answer. So in logically, I would say embedded software engineering is a bigger umbrella. Under that, firmware engineering is a part of it. Okay. Gaurav is asking, how do we get access to, for today's session? As I mentioned, it's getting recorded. We will put it in our YouTube channel, and our team will email you also. Or if you're already in touch with our student counselors, you can ask them also. Okay. Okay. Shiv is asking, sir, your counselor said 2020 passout is not eligible for placements. Okay. Let me check with them. Okay. Shiv, I'll take your note. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Let me just check with them. If any clarification, I'll ask them to reach out to you. Shiv, it would be good if you can message me your phone number, because I don't have access to that. Or send us an email. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Abhay is asking, is 10th and 12th percentage matter for placement? Again, Abhay, it depends on the company. You saw some application I showed, they bothered about the engineering performance, right? But some companies would expect a consistent performance, right? 10, 12 and engineering. It depends purely on the company, right? But largely, I would request, right, all of you to not bother too much about it, because as I repeatedly been telling, your skill set is what matters. Okay. Judas is asking, what are the basic concepts we need to know before taking up the course? Nothing. Okay, just come and be open-minded and be curious, because every topic will be taught from the scratch. But yeah, maybe when you're advancing in the modules, when you're preparing for placements, maybe you can work on the aptitude, general aptitude, and also basic electronics, and also revising your final year project, which will be helpful during your placements. But to join the course as such, there is no prerequisite, right? Okay. Snigna, sir, the internship program runs for how long in your institute, and what does application for IoT for this year will be open before joining the course? I would love to have internship from our institute. So Snigdha, internship is again a very broader term. In our scenario, we offer two type of internships. One is for a exposure program or a short-term program, what we call, where we run cohorts. It goes like an online only live program, which is again a free internship program, just to give an exposure that doesn't come with placements. But having said that, I was talking about the VTU internship, which I beginning of my webinar. So that comes with the placement. I request you can get in touch with our counseling team and detail what you are expecting, so that we can guide you accordingly. Okay. So course duration, I think we already covered. Okay. Okay, Shiv, let me just note down your number. Okay. So Ananya is asking, yeah, 1 minute. The ID that we'll use for programming is paid, or you will give us access? So Ananya, all the IDs, right? Any tools that we use, including the one what Mubeen has demonstrated, they're all of open source in nature, right? We don't have any licensed one. One of the best part of learning embedded system is we use all the open source tools and framework and IDs. So which anyways is free and open to download from the internet, right? They're all covered under the GNU, public license or general purpose license, or GPL, right? They're all very free, very much feel free to use. So there is no charge or associated with our courses. Maybe for VLSI there may be some licensing cost, okay, but for embedded, whatever we teach, there is no cost associated with that. Okay. Om is telling, sir, recently passed second year, so I am eligible for the course or not? Yes, very much yes. In fact, I really appreciate somebody doing this course as a part of their engineering degree itself. We are very strongly, recommending start early and stay ahead. Definitely, you can take it up, build extra, good number of projects, and after you did complete your engineering, you can apply for placements. I give a very detailed answer in the beginning of the webinar. You can just take a look about how the 2026 students has already achieved placements with us because they joined us early, right? You can plan something similar to that. Okay. So Chirag is asking, what if I take online classes? So how can I adjust company which are taking drive onsite, just like you have shown before? So again, it depends on you, Chirag. So there are that leave it to the choice of the clients and to the students, right? For example, if you're an online student, if you can come offline and attend the drives, you are most welcome. There's no issue. Okay. Or if you're particular that only I want to apply for online drives, that is also your choice. Okay. So we'll leave it to you. So Pragati is asking, so I saw the embedded systems internship in VTU website. I wanted to know what the difference between students joining through the VTU and people apply directly online. Are the training projects and certificates benefits are the same? No, Pragati, as I mentioned, internship is offered under two modes. Okay. So probably I suggest you can also share me your number in the chat window. I'll ask our team. I think I mentioned, but there are differences. The process is different and the benefits are different. I'll ask our team to get in touch with you. And if you can share me your number, Pragati. From July 2nd, will the course training be offline? I don't know what I mean by July 2nd. July 2nd, we are starting an online evening course, right? For the offline course, we are starting on 25th. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Pragati. I will get in. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much what I had. Any other questions? I know this interaction is what makes the webinar interesting, because you can also refer to the previous webinar videos. The content pretty much we present the same, except certain update in the placement data, etc. But what makes the webinar very valuable is the interactions, the questions, right? Okay. Uh, when they start, the offline courses after 25th batch. Okay, you're asking when will be the next offline batch after 25th, right? So typically, Prakash, we start batches every month towards the last week. The date, what we said, 25th, it is for the month of June. So we are currently taking enrollments for that. Once the enrollments are complete, our team closes the admission for June. Then they will publish the dates for July. You can watch out for our website for the July dates. You can also check our social media, Instagram, to get the dates. But typically, it will be in that last week. Okay, that's our regular routine. Okay. Okay. So OM is saying, so first you will teach the course, then there will be an internship and there will be placement. Am I right? Like this you are taking. Okay. So OM, okay, I see, as I said, no, the internship is little longer discussion. That's why I told Pragati to share a number which will clarify, right? But I would, to keep things simple, our focus is to skill you using a course, right? And then with that uh, artifact, what you are going to produce, which I mentioned as a digital career portfolio, as a combination of your LinkedIn profile, GitHub profile, and 15 projects in your resume, with that we'll be sending you for placements. So keep it like that, because internship is a very broadly defined terms, paid, unpaid, a lot of complications. So don't get into that. Okay. Hope that's clear. Om. Okay, Prakash Verma is asking, can you provide a internship certificate? Whichever program we take, we do give certificate. Okay, no worries, whether it's a course or internship. But time and again, I'm repeating, guys, don't go by the certificates. I know there is very easy way to obtain certificates. Today, the world has moved ahead. That's what I told in the beginning, how AI and geopolitics and the GCC and the India semiconductor is shaping the job market. So my request is, please understand the reality and build a deeper skill set. That is going to make far more positive difference than you are, chasing certificates. Okay. All right. I think any other questions? Yeah, Ananya is asking, is there any preference for laptop or MacBook can work directly smoothly for all IDE? MacBook, most of them work. Some of them could be some challenges, right? I suggest, probably after the course, you can check with our team of mentors. They'll be able to help you. Okay. Right. Prakash is asking, embedded systems or IoT, which one is best for future growth? Both. Yeah, that's why we keep discussing, right? The course positioning is slightly different. Embedded systems course more focused towards the embedded side and the hardware side of things, whereas our IoT course is more of a solutioning approach, which has got the modules like IoT cloud, etc., which will give us solutioning perspective, right? So definitely both of them are at a good demand. Okay. I think Abhay Rathod PET test, I think I already clarified about the additional chances. Yes. All right. Okay. So that's pretty much what we have for today. So thank you very much, all of you, for joining the webinar and asking all the interesting questions. There are a couple of numbers I taken. I'll ask my team to clarify. So one last point which I share in every webinar, whatever we do, as I told in the beginning, me and my colleague Mubeen, what is our goal? Our goal is to tell two things. One is to give you the right set of information and the insights, so that you guys will get a clarity, right, about what is happening. Because in media, you see, right, there's a lot of news floating around. Sometimes it becomes overwhelming to figure it out which one to choose, which one to ignore, right? Our idea is a very specific industry specific insights, and these are all based on ground level realities, right? We're not running any news channel, right? Whatever we are sharing, it is based on the direct conversation with what we talk with companies, hiring managers, right, HR heads, directors, engineering VPs, etc., right? But having said that, the silver bullet is you are the decision maker, right? With the insight that we shared, whatever decision you need to take, you are the owner for your career. So whatever choice you make, ensure that you choose it with a long-term perspective in mind. Don't do because something is looks flashy, or I will do it for 1 year, 2 year. Pick something which will take you on a long haul career path, let's say next at least 30 years, 25 years. And definitely embedded systems and IoT have got that potential. That's what we try to present as a part of the webinar. Okay, so thank you very much for once again joining. This recorded video will be circulated to you. Further queries, you can get in touch with our team of counselors. Okay, take care. Bye.